So we've got more good news on gun legislation. A California judge blocks the same gun legislation. It keeps going to appeal. It just keeps going back and forth. They keep blocking it, then it goes through, then it's blocked. It's a kind of a crazy situation going on. Barack Obama is very, very concerned about Joe Biden, and who isn't? He's been getting very involved in the Biden campaign, telling Biden that he needs to restructure some things. Yeah, he needs to restructure a lot. He needs to restructure himself right on out of the race because he has no chance of winning, folks. And politics sure is getting ramped up. We got DeSantis attacking Haley. Trump even attacked Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley should honestly drop out. Vivek Ramaswamy is getting shut down by the mainstream narrative machine. They don't want him to talk. Of course, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Every time the man does an interview and he starts speaking facts, they start interrupting him and trying to talk over him. And if you'll notice on a lot of these interviews, I notice they do this with opposition interviews a lot. It's like they turn their mic down just a little bit so that when the interviewer starts talking over the interviewee, you can't really hear what they're saying. It's a little trick. You got to watch out for that. But we've got all kind of stuff going on, folks. But what's up, everybody? How the hell's your day going? This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date on exactly what the government is doing, stuff you're not going to hear about in the mainstream, stuff they don't want you to know about probably. That's why you don't hear about it in the mainstream, but it's stuff that we need to know to stay informed. So if you're interested in staying informed and staying on top of everything the government is doing, hit that subscribe button for me and turn on that notification bell. It sure would be a big help. And if you could, as a favor to me, smash that like button because it sure does help promote the videos, and we need to get the people informed. We need to let the people know exactly what's going on because the mainstream narrative machine leaves out a lot of information. Of course, they can't cover everything, but they leave out a lot of key information. Like, there's a lot of people, like, with the book banning that's going on, the so-called book banning, they're getting rid of books like Gender Queer and This Book is Gay. And when you go tell people, they're like, oh, well, I think it's wrong that they're banning books. Well, you show them the book. Well, this is the book they're banning. And they're like, holy crap, never mind. So the misinformation that's out there that the mainstream narrative machine is supposed to be correcting, they're actually putting out misinformation all the time, or they just leave out specific information to make you think this when it's really that. And that's what we do. We try to clear up some of that misinformation. And hey, we get stuff wrong sometimes, but I'm willing to admit that I'm biased. Sure, but I always try my best, and when I am found wrong, I do issue a correction. But let's go ahead and get into today's news because we got more election news coming up. This one, it's another one. Narrative machine, we're putting it through the logic test, and it fails once again. All right, so here we go, folks. Is Georgia's election system constitutional? A federal judge will decide in an upcoming trial. So here we go. There's been a lawsuit going on since, I believe, 2017 about the Dominion voting machines. Now, there's a lot of people that believe that these machines were altered and messed with in the 2020 election to give more votes to Joe Biden. However, there's no real proof. So we can't really say if it happened or not. A lot of people do believe that it did happen. And from the evidence I've seen, it's kind of damning evidence. But it's not solid. It's not concrete. So I don't tend to push that narrative, I guess you could say. I do believe it's a possibility that did happen. And sure, like I always say, there's fraud in every election. You can't help that. But was there enough? That's the key question. Was there enough to change the outcome of that election? That's what we don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know that. But let's go ahead and get into it. Election integrity activists want a federal judge to order Georgia to stop using its current election system, saying it's vulnerable to attack and has operational issues that could cost voters their right to cast a vote and have it accurately counted. Yes, that is a very, very logical concern, especially with this digital crap, because hackers are unbelievably skilled at doing whatever the hell it is they want to do. During a trial set to start Tuesday, activists plan to argue that the Dominion voting system's touchscreen voting machines are so flawed they are unconstitutional. Election officials insist the system is secure and reliable and say it is up to the state to decide how it wants to conduct elections. Georgia has become a pivotal electoral battleground in recent years, with national attention focused on its elections. The election system used statewide by nearly all in-person voters, including touchscreen voting machines that print ballots with a human-readable summary of voter selections and a QR code that a scanner reads to count the votes. A QR code. Why not print out exactly what these people voted, exactly who they voted for, so a person can hand count all this stuff? I don't understand why make it, why disguise it, in other words. Why are you going to obfuscate something to make a scanner have to read it? I know we do that all the time with products, but product sales is not elections, and we need integrity in our elections, and that is something that they could easily change to where it's not a QR code that is scanned, but it prints out exactly what these people voted for. That's the type of stuff that people are concerned about, because we don't know what that QR code says. We can look at all kinds of QR codes. We can't read them because they're just scribble to us. So why even do that? It's like they're intentionally obfuscating what people voted on. Let's keep going though. The activists say the state should switch to hand-marked paper ballots tallied by scanners, and also needs much more robust post-election audits that are currently in place. U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg, who's overseeing the long-running case, said in an October order that she cannot order the state to use hand-marked paper ballots. But the activists say prohibiting the use of touchscreen machines would effectively force the use of hand-marked paper ballots, because that's the emergency backup provided for in state law. Wild conspiracy theories about Dominion voting machines proliferated in the wake of the 2020 election, spread by allies of former President Donald Trump, who said they were used to steal the election from him. Of course, that's what we discussed before this. The election equipment company has fought back aggressively, with litigation notably reaching a $787 million settlement with Fox News in April. That's an insane settlement, folks. The trial, set to begin Tuesday, stems from a lawsuit that long predates those claims. It was originally filed in 2017 by several individual voters and the Coalition for Good Governance, which advocates for election integrity, and targeted the outdated paperless voting system used at the time. Totenberg, in August 2019, prohibited the state from using the antiquated machines beyond that year. The state had agreed to purchase new voting machines from Dominion a few weeks earlier and scrambled to deploy them ahead of the 2020 election cycle. Before the machines were distributed statewide, the activists amended their lawsuit to take aim at the new system. They argue the system has serious security vulnerabilities that could be exploited without detection, and that the state has done little to address those problems. Additionally, voters cannot be sure their votes are accurately recorded because they cannot read the QR code they say. Right, exactly. That's what I was talking about earlier. And the voting machines' large upright screens make it easy to see a voter's selections violating the right to ballot secrecy, they say. What do you mean by they say? If it's upright and other people can see it, that is not they said it. That is a fact. You see how they love to do this? Insanity. Insanity, how they like to skew things just a little bit. Experts engaged by the activists have said they've seen no evidence that any vulnerabilities have been exploited to change the outcome of an election, but they say the concerns need to be addressed immediately to protect future elections. So there's no concern, nothing to see here. The 2020 elections was the most secure election ever, they say. One of them, University of Michigan computer scientist J. Alex Halderman, examined a machine from Georgia and wrote a lengthy report detailing vulnerabilities that he said bad actors could use to attack the system. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, in June 2022 released an advisory based on Halderman's findings that urged jurisdictions that use the machines to quickly mitigate the vulnerabilities. Imagine that. They rushed to put all this stuff into place. Hurried up, say, yeah, secure these vulnerabilities because we have major vulnerabilities here. Were they able to do it? Were they able to put enough security in place to satisfy a very secure election? I don't think so. During a hearing in May, a lawyer for the state told the judge physical security elements recommended by CISA were largely in place. But the Secretary of State's office has said a software update from Dominion is too cumbersome to install before the 2024 elections. So here we go. These people are lazy, folks. They were largely put in place. But they didn't put all of it in place. They put largely in place. Most of it's in place. Why not put all of it in place? Why not get rid of these machines completely? Go back to paper ballots, hand-counted paper ballots. That's the best way to do it. We have that system all over the country. Look at places like Florida. Florida had that big deal in, 2004? And they switched up, they changed their election laws, they changed their rules around elections, and now they have one of the best election systems in the country. They're able to count millions of votes and have it tallied that same night to be able to decide who won that election. If Florida can do it, everybody else can do it. I mean, why would you not want to put all the recommended security elements in place? Why would you just largely put them in place? We still have an entire year before, almost a year before the 2024 election. Why not get these machines secure? Why not open source the code to these machines so they can be checked accurately by auditors? It doesn't make any sense. Just being lazy, it seems like. The fact that the voting system software and data was uploaded to a server and shared with an unknown number of people after unauthorized people accessed election equipment in January 2021 makes it even easier to plan an attack on the system, Halderman has said. That breach at the elections office in rural Coffee County was uncovered and exposed by the plaintiffs in that lawsuit. Coffee County. That sounds familiar. A sprawling Fulton County racketeering indictment against Trump and 18 others included charges against 4 people related to the Coffee County. 2 of them, including Trump-allied lawyer Sidney Powell, have pled guilty after reaching deals with prosecutors. They just had to throw that in there. In several rulings during the litigation, Totenberg has made clear that she has concerns about the voting system. But she wrote in October that the activists carry a heavy burden to establish a constitutional violation connected to the voting systems or its implementation. David Cross, a lawyer for some of the individual voters, said the judge has only seen a sliver of their evidence so far. He said he believes she'll find in their favor, but he doesn't expect to see any changes before Georgia's presidential primary in March. He said changes might be possible before the general election in November if Totenberg rules quickly, which, please do. We're hopeful, but we recognize it's an uphill fight for 2024 just on the timing, he said, acknowledging the likelihood that the state would appeal any ruling in the activists' favor. Marilyn Marks, executive director of the Coalition for Good Governance, was similarly optimistic ahead of the trial. We have the facts and the science and the law on our side, and really, the state has no defense. I agree. The state has no defense for this. You haven't put all your security issues in place. We know there are several vulnerabilities with these machines in particular, going way back into the past. Dominion has had lots of lawsuits against them for their voting machines. Look at what happened in Venezuela. That's some insanity. But they're right. The state has no defense. Why haven't you done this? That's their defense, probably. A representative for Raffensperger didn't respond to multiple requests to interview someone in his office ahead of the trial. The activists had planned to call the Secretary of State to testify. They wanted to ask why he chose a voting system that uses QR codes that aren't readable by voters. They also believe his office has failed to investigate or implement proper safeguards after the Coffee County breach and wanted to ask him about that under oath. The judge ordered him to appear over the objections of his lawyers, but the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on Friday ruled he doesn't have to testify, citing his status as a top official and saying the plaintiffs didn't show his testimony was necessary. The trial bears heavily on the public interest, and voters deserve to hear from Secretary Raffensperger in the trial. It's a travesty that they won't, Cross said. And it's unfair to our clients who need answers to questions at trial that only he can provide. I happen to agree with that. If he can provide answers, and he is key to understanding this whole situation with these Dominion voting machines, it seems to be partisan politics taking place here that, oh no, we can't have this guy testify because it's going to destroy our narrative. Who cares if he's a top election official, right? That doesn't matter. Does that ever matter when it comes to trials and court cases and all this other stuff? Does it matter that you may lose your job, possibly, if you have to go sit on a jury? Or you'll miss out on work? Or they're not going to compensate you for your work? Is that fair? Is one person's job more important than the other one's? This is something that really needs to be worked out. We really need answers for. But you see, they don't want this guy to testify because he's going to be under oath and he's going to have to tell the truth. And if he does tell the truth, Lord knows what might happen to their narrative. Their whole racketeering case against Trump will probably fall apart. Because that's where this whole situation is coming from, right? Trump sent Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, they sent these people down to Georgia because a Georgia election official said there was some funny business going on here, right? So they go to check things out. Next thing you know, it's a grand conspiracy to overthrow the government, putting Trump in all this BS, these politically motivated persecutions, essentially. It's all a bunch of crap, and they don't want their narrative blown apart. Well, you know what? Something I was told a long time ago, the truth will prevail, even if the world's on fire. Yeah, you could say the world's on fire right now. There's a whole lot of BS going on out there. We've got to stand up to these people and tell them, you're not going to interfere in these elections. If there's security issues that need to be fixed, fix them. We're not just going to back down. We need to stand up and fight. We need to take our country back because it has been captured by the extreme left. And that's all I got for this video, folks. I want to thank everybody for watching. And like I said, if you're new around here and you want to stay up to date with this stuff, smash that subscribe button for me. And if you could, as a big favor, hit that like button. It sure would help me out. But thanks for watching, everybody. I sure do appreciate it. And y'all try to have a good day and be positive. Peace.